lost in you. Ooh. Hi there. Hi, Miss Ebony.
Hello. Can you see me? Because right now I'm showing dark.
Oh yeah, I can. Let's see. Let's put that right there.
Why don't you show up?
Let's. Hi, Roxanne.
Okay, can you see me?
Uh-oh. Can anyone hear me? Oh, okay. Let's see.
Yes, we can hear you. Can't you not hear us talking?
Okay. No.
If you move that over here and open it up.
Ask to start video. Ask to unmute.
Aren't you seeing everybody?
There.
That's what I'm looking for. Can you hear me now? She still can't hear me.
Can't see you.
Yep, it's on 99. She said, I can't see you. No. Oh, duh.
Okay. I can see you. Hi,
All right.
beautiful.
That's half the battle. Can you hear
can't
me?
hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
It helps when you turn up the computer, which my volume was turned down.
Okay. So you can hear me now.
Hear you now.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh my gosh. You know, I had to slick down, you know.
No, I understand. Don't worry. Don't worry. I totally get it. All right. I'm going to pull this back over so that I can see what's happening.
Hi, Miss Ham.
Hey, Karen.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Ebony, where are you?
I am at Hannah's house.
Okay.
Because you know, of all the remodeling and stuff that's going on at our house, I didn't want it to be a bunch of banging.
Oh, cool. I get it. I get it. I don't think I can do noise reduction with my software.
Did you try your microphone?
I did try my microphone. Tonight is not the platform to test it out. Believe me, I don't know enough. But I have my microphone. I have my speakers. I have all of that. So, and I'm testing out a couple of different software. So,
got it. Okay.
Yeah. Good Lord.
All right. I am going to also test out. Let's just see.
I'm wondering if you should send me the PowerPoint slide to Kayla,
Okay.
and then I can post it.
Okay, I was just getting ready to say, are you going to share it? Because I just tried to share it and it said host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, you know what? So when I went in earlier, I guess
Uh-huh.
I have to do it. I have to do it depending on, who I'm interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. That is absolutely okay. I can send it to you right now.
Okay.
What's your email address again?
K-Love. K-Love at Judson U.
Do I need to spell out you? University? Sorry.
U.edu. Is that
I need
you?
to talk to you. What I stopped for was to find out how Mackenzie is doing.
Oh, no, that's me. Oh, my gosh. Let me get out of this thing. Don't you dare. Okay. All right. Okay, so someone's trying to get in. That's LaDawn. Oh, that's cool.
All right, so I just sent it.
Okay.
Let me know if you got it.
I did. I'm
Okay.
down now. I thought that was you sharing the music. Then I realized I was on Hulu looking at Dance Moms. Well, that wouldn't have been appropriate.
Right.
Okay. I haven't shared my screen yet. Let me.
Okay, that's fine.
Hi, LaDawn. Oh, let's see here.
Hi, Karen.
How are you doing, dear?
Well, how are you?
Oh, I cannot complain.
Mhm.
Doesn't do any good. Who's listening?
Somebody's listening.
Somebody's listening.
I don't know if they can help you, but they're listening.
Yes. LaDawn, I want to introduce you to, can I say Minister Ebony Norris? She doesn't like to say that.
Hi, Ebony.
Hi, LaDawn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Thank you.
Okay, that's
Layla.
all right. Look at that.
Actually, it's Roxanne.
Oh, Roxanne. Okay.
Yes.
I thought you just sent me a text, Roxanne.
Yes, I did because I thought I was late.
Oh, no. I know the evening time is different. Ebony,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you see where it says click to add notes. How can I get into another format? Well, I don't think it matters.
So this is what you do. Just share this, start it and share the slideshow
Mhm.
at the top where it says slideshow.
Yeah,
Hit play from start.
play from start. It's interesting now because it records everything. When you're speaking, you're gonna see the subtext.
I see it at the bottom.
Yeah, right? That drives me nuts. It does. It's like a part of an annotation, but let's see.
You can't turn that feature off?
Well, no, I don't think so.
You have to be able to. I've never seen that.
Okay. Oh yeah, with the updates for Office 365, everything is annotated. But you know what? Let me see. Interesting. That's why I was wondering. Okay, hold on. Let's try it again. Hello? Oh, it's fixed. Oh, no, it's not. So Ebony, you see where, oh, I know. Okay, hold on. Oh, it picks it up. It does. I don't think there's any choice anymore. I see that in my classes when I'm speaking and the annotation comes up. Nothing's sacred anymore. And as soon as we get out of it, it's erased. So the only other thing we could do, see where it says listening here? Yeah. So LaDawn is, she will be a special guest of mine too. She's coming up on the 25th of September. And so LaDawn, basically this is the platform. I'm also creating podcasts, and also I have hashtag Friday Night Chats on YouTube as well. And we have 3 different platforms going on, so the students can either look at the presentation later or join in, whatever it is. I'm just providing different platforms.
Okay.
Yeah. Now here's the other option without the annotation. I can just go through the slides like this. Ebony, would you prefer that?
Fine either way, as long as I'm fine either way. It doesn't, because yeah, so I'm good.
Okay. So initially I shared the platform with the students, but then I decided to go with the community at large. And then I decided to create podcasts and YouTube videos so that we can provide the content there so that everybody will have access to it. Also, this one, I did say Facebook Live, so we are going to have to add that. Are you good with that, Ebony? Facebook Live? Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Go live on Facebook. Here we are. Okay. So it should start in just a few seconds. So how's everyone? Oh, wait. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay, so we have multiple screens going here.
Hey, Aunt Karen, you can turn the closed captioning off in your meeting settings. Did you try to go into meeting settings?
Okay, I will. Hold on 1 second.
So Karen, is that a Zoom feature?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you go, you should have a stop animation button.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me move this slide out because there are too many screens going on at one time.
See if that helps.
Okay.
Look under like view options.
Okay, hold on one. Let's go live here. If it would allow me. Here we go. Add a title. Hashtag Friday Night Chats. There. There's a title. Go live. Okay. Yep, they're setting up Facebook Live. So I think what I'm going to do is to navigate the slides without the full screen. I mean, I can offer this right here, but if I wanted to keep the annotation off, then I think I can just present in this platform here.
Okay.
Okay, does that work? You just tell me when to go.
Yep, that works for me.
Okay, well, it is 6:32, and I want to welcome everyone to Friday Night Chats. My name is Dr. Karen Love, and I am the host of #FNC. I am the vice chairperson for the Love Family Christian Foundation and also vice chair of, not vice chair, I'm sorry, program chair for organizational leadership at Judson University.
Go ahead and speak it. Sorry.
Okay, before I introduce my guest for the evening, I'd like to provide a little context to the FNC platform. In March of 2020, our university transitioned to the digital platform due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So face-to-face students were transitioning from face-to-face to online platform, and I was really concerned about the dynamics there, because I teach adult students and they are used to a certain platform. They want the intimacy, they want the interaction with the professors, and all of a sudden their world was disrupted. So with the online platform, we could do it in an asynchronous or a synchronous fashion. One, I'm going to let another person in, just bear with me 1 second. So the asynchronous fashion or the synchronous fashion. But what I found was having that relationship with them required work. It required ongoing conversations. It required seconds, everything. And that was okay. That was okay because they were the customers. They were our students. But one thing that really, really had me process what my role was as a program director was really getting into these students who are asking at the end of the program, how can I leverage my degree? And so that resonated with me. So thank God, despite the pandemic, I had an opportunity to step back, reflect, and ask God, what's my assignment? What's my role? Because I'm hearing questions that perhaps should have been addressed at the beginning of the program, not at the end of the program. So what can I do to affect change, to bring, transformation and empowerment in these students' lives? So, Judson University is a Christian institution. So our mandate is to integrate faith in learning. And in this institution, we pray at the beginning, have worship service at the beginning, in the middle, particularly if there's a crisis, and then at the end. So the question is mine is, how can I bring this concept of leadership alive? What can I do differently, particularly organizational leadership? And so Judson, when they went to that platform, praying about it, everything was in order, and God gave birth to #Friday Night Chat. So I am so excited about this. We went to the platform mid-March. April 17th, I started the Friday Night Chats, and that was only by God's grace and power. Let me tell you, He does amazing things. I got busy, contacted prospective guests. They all said yes, when and where. And so this platform provides an opportunity for not only the students, but the community at large to come together to talk about some of the organizational issues, whether it's in ministry, or nonprofits or corporations, whatever that agency is, it provides that platform. And so some of the topics that we discuss in the spring and summer term of 2020 was leading intelligent teams, or leadership in the law, or HR management, or women in supply chain management, ethics, innovation. One individual, it was so precious, leaning into the pivot. And what does that mean for us as Christian women of God? How do we lean into that pivot emotionally, spiritually, and professionally? We also had a presentation on emotional intelligence and wellness strategies. And that was so important because transforming into that digital platform was very, very stressful for all of us in some capacity. It really was. So just let me just share with you real quick the faculty that God sent our way. We had graduates from University of Chicago, University of Miami Law School, Northwestern University, MIT, University of Wisconsin, Vanderbilt. So there was a composition of great leaders in their own perspective profession, affecting change in a very positive way because they knew God. And that was awesome. They knew God, and they were very clear about their mandate. And so one individual who actually was supposed to close out on the 17th, but then there was another individual who came on board. But this individual on the 17th was a Judson graduate. And he talked about the fact how this one minister had changed his life. He dealt with oppositional disorder or defiant disorder and ADHD and all the things that he grew up, had all those labels placed on him. This man has written 4 books. He's been on TEDx McHenry, TEDx Zurich. And so that cadre of leaders that God sent this way is amazing, and he continues to grow this faculty. So I am so excited tonight to welcome Miss Ebony, and I would just keep saying Miss Ebony because it's the fact that she is a phenomenal individual. She really is. And so we want to welcome her to the platform. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She received her BS in criminal justice from Virginia Commonwealth University. It was her intention to become a judge, but God had another plan for her, right? So he took her from her job and her profession in operations, I would say operations, and God planted on her heart to go after her MDiv and her master's in Christian education. So she pursued both degrees. And within that pursuit, she discovered that leadership truly is a fluid construct. So some of the questions that I want to ask Ebony that's very, very pivotal, but particularly in ministry, is what role does leadership play in her assignments, whether it's professionally or in ministry? How does it all work? How does it all come together so that she is a transformer or a change agent for God? So let's welcome Miss Ebony Norris. Thank you, Ebony. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Or I should say it's evening at this point.
Oh, that's true.
Evening at this point.
I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was like, who is that person she's describing in this introduction? Yeah, leadership is something, and I think I've shared this before. As you stated before, I had no intentions of going into any type of ministry capacity. I literally had my heart set on becoming a judge. I know sitting on the judicial bench is absolutely a leadership role, but from the perspective of I just wanted to go straight to law school and then become a judge. I didn't, it wasn't in my peripheral in any given shape or form that I would be in a leadership role within the ministry context. I have been at the corporation that I work for. I have been at that corporation for 20 years. It'll be 20 years in January. And I found myself literally moving up within the company. And here's where we talk about how it's not in our own strength. It's not in anything that necessarily we do or we deserve. It's literally the faith that we have. And I say that because as I found myself moving up in leadership, and I always say I never wanted leadership. Leadership kind of just called me because I found myself moving up within the corporation and in these various leadership roles. And literally, I didn't understand what was happening and what was going on. And then I found myself at church. In the different leadership capacities. And, I found it, a lot of people would say, you shouldn't bring in, what you have in the corporate, you shouldn't bring it into the ministry setting. And I said, I beg to differ, because in every organization, I don't care what the organization is, you have to have some type of structure. You have to have some type of organizational structure and organizational leadership structure in place to be able to move the organization forward. And so that's kind of how I have, with moving on and just looking at, where I am today, where I was then, and each realm that God moves me into, from a leadership perspective. It's just being able to bring that parallel, and really being able to say, how can we continue to evolve, both from a corporate perspective and from a ministry perspective, right? But then our leadership has to evolve. We cannot continue to remain the same. And so what are some of the things that I can bring as that change agent, as you stated, which is funny because I actually have that notated in one of the slides. You become the change. You are the change agent. So you become the change that you want to see. Mm-hmm. And so that's just kind of how I started. And how, even today, I just kind of move in, with whatever position that I find myself in. It's number one, it's not me. Nothing is ever me. It's all, it's all God's doing. And so, I found myself at Virginia Union University, studying, getting my Master's of Divinity. Again, that wasn't something that I ever aspired to do. But I'll tell you, it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life, as well as deciding, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get my Christian education as well, because what that did was it then allowed me to, at one point I was taking the corporate and I was, trying to determine, okay, where do I go in ministry? Like, how do I bring that to ministry? But then what I did was I flipped it after I ended up going to school, and I said, okay, now that, with corporate, there's a lot of, political, rules. There's a lot of HR rules that you have to follow. But it's how do you take those same concepts and those same principles and be able to now apply them in your everyday corporate world as well, and within your leadership role. And so that's just kind of the position that I'm in, and that's just kind of the place that I'm in, trying to be able to balance that and being able to bridge the cultures, basically.
Amen. Amen. Ebony, do you start with the presentation?
We can start with the presentation, or we can just kind of do the chat and I can tell you where to go. But yeah, if you want to start with the presentation, we can go to slide 2, because within every organization, right, there are different pieces that every organization is looking at, right? So you have your leadership and your strategy, which takes care of, you have to have your shared vision. You have to understand the context, right, of your vision. And then you have to have the right effective leaders. Then you have a part of your organization that deals with your preparedness. So that's your processes, that's your managing of your risks. Do you have the right resources available? How do you manage the change that's going on? What are the risks that you're willing to take and the risks that you're willing to accept? And then you have your culture. Every organization has a culture. And so you want to always create a healthy culture, and you want to always share information and continually improve upon whatever that culture is and those behaviors are. And so this is the construct of every organization, whether it's literally your corporate world or whether it's your ministry world. You have these pieces within every organization. And when we talk about, if you want to go to slide 3, when we talk about organizational leadership as a whole, I found this definition, and it made so much sense here, where it says organizational leadership really is a management strategy that focuses on the organization as a whole and the processes needed to unify the individual and the organizational goals. Organizational leadership And, you know, a lot of people think that when we talk about organizational leadership, it's dealing with the human resources piece of it, you know, and it does, right? Organizational leadership does encompass the human resources part of it, but a lot of people clump those together. You know, the organizational leadership piece focuses more on the overall scope of the company, whereas the human resources aspect, it concerns itself with actually the human capital of the organization. And so the model itself, when we talk about organizational leadership, it's really looking at the strategy of the overall organization, no matter what the organization is, looking at your overall management strategy and looking at those processes that are needed to be able to mirror the individual along with the organizational goals.
Yes.
Yes. So there are, if you move to slide 4, there are a lot of people when I'm having conversations, a lot of people also think organizational leadership is management, and it's real, and it's a part of it, but it's not solely management. Because when you're looking at leadership, and you know, I heard you talk about you know, some of the classes that your students were in. When you look at leadership as a whole, leadership is 100% how you are able to influence people. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of different tasks that you do within that leadership construct, but no matter what you do, you will never have a successful organization if you don't influence those that are under you. And so so you have to be able to, you have to know your people, you have to learn your people, you have to, you know, be able to understand, like, okay, here are the goals, here's what we have to accomplish, here's the objectives that we have. And now how do you influence your people to be able to meet those goals? How do you influence them to be able to say, all right, guys, here's where we are. Like, I deal with this every day, all day. You know, it's constant change. It's you know, things that are happening within the world. And as the leader, it's important that you're able to understand and digest what's happening, and then be able to figure out how can I influence those that are under me, to still be able to, in spite of everything that's going on, in spite of everything that's happening, you know, we might have to change, we might have to pivot, but no matter what we have to do, how can I still influence them to be able to meet the overall goal and objective for that particular thing or whatever that is.
You know, it's sometimes about the difference. Talked about that. Paul, do you give some feedback? Okay. The difference between Peter and Paul, how Peter just cast that vision and he just kept going, but Paul was both the leader and the process person because he was in the details, and yep. and the devil is in the details, to have to know everything. So his mind was so critical. He thought about the process, how to bring people forward. So he was dealing with those issues. But Peter, you know, when the Bible says that people wanted to actually get in his shadow. So he was, you know, quite the transformer himself. And so to distinguish between the different types of leaders, and you're right about the systems, because you have to have a certain level of influence even to navigate those systems so that they can, absolutely, in that trajectory, go to be the most optimal system that represents the organization and the mission of the leaders itself. Yeah. So yep. I was thinking about the two of them. Yes.
No, you're absolutely correct. And I chose this picture here because, you know, when I was looking at this picture, I was like, this picture says so much without having any words, right? So, you know, Saint Francis of Assisi would always say, and I think I probably pronounced that wrong. He was like, preach with saying as little words as possible, right? And so when I look at this picture, you have this red ball that's here. and you have people slowly gradually coming towards this red ball. So for whatever reason, this red ball is influencing what's happening, right? And when we talk about Peter, and then we even talk about Jesus, right? And so I looked at this to say, and I was having a conversation earlier today with my sister, and we were talking about like this red ball represents Jesus. The ones that are around are the disciples. But what also happened? The disciples also had to then take their influence and produce other disciples. And so those are the and which includes us as well. And so the balls in the back of the picture, that they represent us, right? They represent those that are coming, right? But to make a long story short, it's the leadership piece of it. It's the leadership aspect where that leader has to be influential to be able to get the people to move to the goals that they need to get to.
Absolutely. Amen.
I'm sorry, was there a question? I'm sorry.
Do you want me to go to the next slide? That was my question to you.
Oh, okay.
There's a delay. I apologize if there's a delay. So I'm hoping that we have the same cadence here, but I apologize if there's a delay in the audio. Did you want me to go to the next slide?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
So within the construct of every organization, you have to define roles. I don't care, again, whether it's in the corporate environment or whether it's and this is the piece where I started to do the parallel of some of the roles that we have in, within a regular organization, just a day-to-day organization. And of course, I'm going to continue to refer to the corporate environment only because that's my context, right? My context is corporate and my context is ministry. Mm-hmm. And so in every organization, you have to have defined roles, but no matter if you're in that leadership position and if you're in that leadership role, you are the change agent. And so being that change agent, you need to be the change that you want to see. Like there's so many, in having conversations, with managers, daily, asking for, advice. What should I do about this? What should I do about that? Like even this morning, for example, there was a manager that called me and she was like, what do I do about, someone who they just won't get on board? I said, all right, so here's what happened. What do you want to see happen? Like, if it were you, what would you do? And she was like, well, I would want to either try to help figure out how to get her on board, or if she couldn't, then we might have to follow a different path. I said, okay. I said, is that what, does your management do that for you? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, is that what you want to see happen in your team? You want your team to get on board, but you put in the right structure to say, hey, I'm giving you options, but if you're not willing to comply with the options or even be able to help, if it's something that you don't like, if it's a process that you don't like, if you want to change the process, okay, let's talk about it. Or if not, if you just are completely defiant and saying, all right, I don't, then we have other options. I said, if that's the change, if that's what you want to see happen in your team, then do it. And she was like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah. And so it's when we define these roles and we define these different management roles, it's the same in every organization. And I put this structure here just so that, to have a concept and just to have a structure or organizational chart of this flow literally, it happens in every organization. In the corporate world, you have the CEO, you have assistants, you have VPs, you have staff VPs. Then you have, those are your organizational leaders. And then you have the managers that are under them. Mm-hmm. Same thing in ministry. you have your pastors, you have, you know, your executive assistants, you know, the pastors might have, and then there might be a layer, a frontline layer. In our ministry context, or in my ministry context, we have what's known as a frontline layer that really is the direct contact really to our pastor, right? Because our pastor can't be so bogged down with the day-to-day and the everyday things that are happening. His goal is to move the congregation forward. The CEO's goal is to move the organization forward. So there's a layer who he casts his shadow and who he casts his vision down to, right? That then has to take that same vision and cast it down to those that are under them. Same concept in corporation. We have our CEOs, we have our VPs, we have our managers, we have our directors, we have our managers. Every organization, like it's no different. I say this, you're gonna hear me say this a lot, because I'm trying to help people understand, and I think everyone on this call does, but I'm trying to help people understand. Every organization has to have a defined role, and you have to know what those roles are, so that so that people understand this is the system. This is what we are following. These are who you contact. This is who you go to. You can't always, you're not going to always be able to go to the CEO. You're not going to always be able to get to the pastor, but you do have people who are in place that will be able to manage the day-to-day as far as what's happening within that organization or within that community context. So if you move to slide 6, here's where I spend a lot of my time with my team, especially at work, is helping them understand the types of leaders, because there are organizational leaders and then there are relational leaders. This is, not every person, not every leader is an organizational leader. And here's the thing, that's fine. You have to know which type of leader you truly are. Organizational leaders are more fueled by the systems that help the people. Like if we think about this, if we think about it from the perspective of they totally understand and they're comfortable with the reality that the systems are the key to growing their business and their congregational community. They're okay with that. They have leaders who are, their heart is, they have a heart for people, but their focus and their goal is more so on the systems to be able to create capacity to care for even more people. They're looking at the big picture. They're not concerned, and I said before, they're not concerned with the day-to-day. They're more looking at the bigger picture organization, and you're going to have your organizational leaders, or those types of leaders that are organizational leaders. Those are your leaders that are going to be able to have the larger volumes, right? So those are the ones that are going to be able to have those bigger organizations or even those bigger ministries, because they are focused on the systems. They don't necessarily have a desire to know everyone in the room. They love them, yes. They like them, yes. But, they don't necessarily have to know everybody in the room. Because again, it's more so they're looking at it from a system perspective. And he's content with having, or he or she is content with having other people who actually care for and is caring for the rest of the team or the rest of the congregation. So they don't necessarily have to be the ones, because quite honestly, they don't have the time to do that. And then, you have your organizational leaders who, they're monitoring closely with people within their direct circle. So within the organizational structure, I kind of alluded to this a little bit, but they have a team of people, right? So they have a certain number of people who are directly within their like directly under them, and they're going to be the ones that are going to have the conversations with your organizational leader. So in the context that I use with the chart, the organizational chart, it's if I'm a CEO, I'm going to have the conversations more so with the VP level, or if I'm a pastor, in our ministry context where I am, they're going to more so have the conversation with the frontline leaders. This is where you're going to spend the majority of your time. This is where you're going to cast your vision. This is where you're going to make sure that they know your heart, because they then have to take that and they have to cast it down to those that are under them, directly under them. So in a corporate environment, it'd be your VP casting it down to your staff VP or your directors. And, in the ministry context, it might be your frontline leadership team, who is directly, who has the conversations with the pastor, who's casting it down to those ministry leaders. So if you have an outreach ministry leader or something like that. So the organizational leaders are more concerned, and they are okay with monitoring what's happening, but monitoring it closely with those who are closer to their direct circle. And the last part is, the one thing organizational leaders love to do is they love to develop other leaders. That is like, if that's the one thing that I have heard so much, and that's the one thing that I have seen, and that's the one thing that, I love actually doing within my context, is helping to develop other leaders, helping to show people, people who don't even think they're leaders. It's amazing to be able to push people into literally who they are, but they don't necessarily see that, but helping them to get there. That's like one of the most amazing things that, that I found most rewarding in my career, is being able to help those that are either under me or help those that are in another area, but saying, hey, can you mentor me or whatever? Like, this is one of the things that I love doing, is helping to develop other leaders, because I think it's important that, number one, as leaders, we understand that's our job, to develop other leaders. We can't do it by ourselves. No organization will ever be able to sustain itself if one person thinks that they can do everything by themselves. So being able to develop leaders is something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's something that I love. On the flip side of that, you have your relational leaders, right? These are the people, they're fueled by contact with people. They love people. They could care less about the systems. I joke with my sister, her and I joke all the time. She's your relational leader. She's more in direct contact and has more direct contact with the people themselves. She's like, I don't care about the system. I know the system has to happen. I know that it's a need for the system, but I have the need to be more relational. And that's just how, that's just how she's wired. That's who God made her to be. She wants to know, what's going on with the people, not from a perspective of being nosy or anything, but she cares. It's all about caring. So that's more your relational leader, and staying up to date with what's going on with people and making sure that they're okay. And here's the thing with both corporate and ministry. It's important to know where you land, because I've seen this happen many times in both respects, in both areas. It's important to know where you land and where you fall, because it's important to be in the right position with wherever you are. Because if you are an organizational leader and you're more focused on the system, but you're put over people, there could be some challenges there, right? So you have to know personally who you are, so that you can have the right conversations with your leadership leads to say, you know what, this might not be the right thing for me, because I the day-to-day, let me talk about process, let me implement system, let me, talk process and procedure and strategy and analysis. That's where I thrive. And it's okay. It's no, it's okay. It's really okay. And I tell people that all day long, it's okay. It's okay not to, you don't have to be what you think I want you to be. Be who you are, and then let's work with that. Let's work within the context of that. Mm-hmm. So I've actually said a whole lot. So I want to stop and just see if there's questions, if anything has come up. Everyone is kind of quiet, and I'm one of those people, I like interaction, and I like things to be interactive.
Well, I like the fact that you talked about the employee and you asked her, what would you like to see, because there was someone who wasn't engaging, and you threw the process right back to her. And in doing so, she becomes that critical thinker, and she can to develop ways and really think not just what the other individual is doing, but her part in that process, to see if she's being effective, or maybe she is that deterrent that's in the way, that's hindering this individual for growth. And so I really like that example of, I always tell my grandkids, I said, if something happens, I ask people, is that your strategy? If that's your strategy, own the strategy. It's okay, but own the strategy. And so my grandson said, but I'm just a child. And I said, that's okay.
It's okay. You have a strategy.
Better off you're going to be, because if that's your strategy, now you are not responsible, and you cannot control someone else's response to behavior. But if that's your strategy, own that strategy. So I love that you did that. It's like, what do you want to see? And sometimes people get in that role, like they'll complain. They say, well, this isn't good or that, and they become consumers, right? Yep. I want to be, sometimes we cannot meet those intrinsic needs. I mean, we're supposed to be, those with emotional intelligence, but sometimes, like, God, you got to help me see this, because I don't see this process. As a matter of fact, I want to get in my corner and stay in my corner, because I don't want that spirit around me. And then God challenges you to go deeper, because this is someone he has called and wants to elevate, and I am a part of that assignment. It's like, I can't be the church lady, because I got some developing in myself.
Yeah, and I oftentimes ask God, why me? Put these people in my path for a reason. Like, there's a part of me that, God, you resting on. That's the part that I don't want nobody to pray for yet, but there's a part that you're resting on. and so it's interesting, but here's the thing though. And I learned this early on. There was a lady who I probably was in my 20s, and I couldn't have been any more than 25. Couldn't have been any more than 25. And this lady was on my team. She was literally in her 60s, late 60s. And she was completely defiant, like just utterly defiant to everybody. And I literally had to pray, and like, I was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? Because now in my flesh, I know what I want to do, right? But I also understand that there's something more to this. And so literally it was, like you said, taking a step back and being able to say, okay, let me pause, because, and this is before I started going to school. And now I look at everything that comes. I'm like, oh Lord, okay. I'm like, God, all right, I'm gonna pass this today. But she was just totally defiant. But what I did was I literally took her in a room and I said, okay, let's talk. What is it? Help me help you. Help me. And that's my motto. I can make you successful where we are and where you are, or I can help make you successful somewhere else. I want to make you successful. I want to help make you successful, whatever that looks like. So you decide what that looks like. And so we had the best conversation. She ended up crying, and we ended up having a wonderful conversation talking about her son. And after that, but what I had to do, I had to break down. There was a wall and a barrier that she had. And she even said, I thought because of your age, I didn't think that you should be leading me. And this is at work. This wasn't even in like a church environment. This was in the corporate environment. But after I had that conversation with her, like that changed. It literally, she was more compliant. She was more willing to, to say, hey, and I would ask her, what do you think about this? Because what I wanted her to understand and I wanted to help her see was that you're valuable. And I value your opinion, because I truly valued her opinion. And I knew that she was a phenomenal lady. We just had that, it was just that defiant piece where she meant she wasn't going to do anything that I asked her to do. But once we broke that barrier down, we were okay. And so, yeah, it's a challenge. Those are some challenges.
You gave her a voice. Absolutely.
Yep, those are some challenges.
So other comments before I jump in. I'm so excited. I could talk to you all night, but other comments.
Well, I do have a comment. This is Roxanne. And what I want to say is it's just so refreshing to hear both Ebony and, let's see, who was the other? Was it LaDon who made a comment about wanting to help? Because so many times you get into an organization and they don't want to help you. It's almost like you're a threat to them, but you're not understanding why. It's like, I just got in here. How can I be a threat to you? I have to learn what I have to learn in order to do the job. So sometimes you have, even now, with me in the working environment, I'm out of the corporate world, but it's not a lot of difference than the state, other than I think being in corporate is a little better. But what I am seeing is, what I'm hearing tonight is that there are leaders that's still out there that want to help others succeed. I love that. I love hearing that tonight, because, I am in an environment that, I ask all the time for opportunities. I had to start over 32 years, and then I had to start all over again. But I constantly ask for opportunities. I am forgotten, and I'll tell you why. I've been in my position 7 years. I'm still waiting to have my employee orientation. I said, I can orientate anybody that's coming in to this agency, but I just love it that you guys have a desire to want to go out to help, and as you stated, and that's both in corporate, that's even in the church, because sometimes there's someone in there that wants to teach and help others to learn their positions, because sometimes it's not always defined, and because you're trying to teach others the position and the right way to do things, it's looked at sometimes like, well, she thinks she knows everything. So I just love the learning piece of it, that someone's open to continue to provide guidance, to help get from point A to point B and continue to help succeed, going in the direction of succeeding. So I thank you guys. I just love that.
Oh, and here's my thing. Somebody helped me, right? I didn't get this place by myself. And so, I had some great people who've been in my life, both professionally and from a ministry perspective, to push me and to, I had people who would not, when I said no, they told me get over myself, and they like literally pushed me probably into the place that I am now. And so there is no way that I could humanly, I have a lady who she used to be an operations expert under me. And before I went to the next position, I told her, listen, I believe in succession planning, right? I'm a stickler for succession planning. I have my managers do it every quarter. I tell them, listen, I need you to make sure that you should never leave a position and not have someone ready to take that position. Because number one, the position isn't yours, right? And number two, anything could happen. So you always need to make sure that you are, as a leader, you are training, you are teaching, you are depositing the knowledge that you have, you are building people up, you are empowering people to literally be able to take your position. Now, in that particular, Elaine is her name, love her. She did not want management. She said, I don't want it. I said, I don't care what you want. I said, this is your next step. And so I put her in different positions, and I put her in different situations to literally, and this is a part of my, Karen had asked me a question. She said, hey, what do you think about team development? And so I have a slide in here about team development because I think it's so important. Because again, somebody did it for me. Mm-hmm. I didn't get to this place by myself. And so, and I think that goes for, ministry. I can probably get on my soapbox about the ministry piece. Because I think in ministry, a lot of times we put people where they are needed because of a lack versus putting people where they truly are supposed to be. And what happens is you'll always find there'll always be a revolving door, because where people's passions are is where they become invested. And so, I would say if you want to teach, I would say keep pushing to teach, because if that's where your passion is, and I think as leaders, we have to take a step back and evaluate, evaluate who's on our teams, and we have to evaluate where we are and even evaluate where we're trying to go, right? Because we might have to change. I do a self-evaluation all the time. And, I take account of where am I? Am I living right? Where am I supposed to be? Where am I supposed to go? What's my next step? Because again, in leadership, you can become, one of the things we learned, and one of the things we talked about in school, we talked about this a lot when it came to ministry, is we talked about how if organizations within ministries do not evolve, you will start to see so many organizations dying. And it's not keeping up with the Joneses, it's being able to evolve and evolve effectively. One of the things I love about the ministry that I am in is that we have what's called revolving leadership. So what that means that every 2 years, our leadership is revolving. Now, we might move into something different, but it's always revolving, because when you don't allow people to come in with new, you are stagnating, because when they come in new, they're coming with new ideas. They're coming in with fresh processes, or, they may see something that's happening and they're like, I think we can probably change that. Or, I think, we could probably do this and it would help us. But if you don't allow that, then, you just become stagnant, both as a leader and your organization becomes stagnant.
LaDawn? Comments?
I actually agree with what she's been saying. I see it all the time in corporate. I've seen it in corporate. I see it in my nonprofit structure, even though it's a corporate nonprofit. profit or not for profit. But when into the young lady's comment about being excited to see and hear people willing to lift other people up, I think you will find that you find managers, directors in your organizations who will be willing to do that, even if your primary supervisor or manager does not. There's always someone in your organization who will be willing to support you, and so it's up to us to seek them out,
Yeah.
and ask for their support, even if you're not getting it where you think you are supposed to get it from. But I also believe, and I need to turn my light, it's starting to get dark here, is that we have to take initiatives, right? You have to take the initiative to show people you are willing and able to help support the effort.
Yep.
It's not just in corporate, but it's also in the ministry, right? In the ministry, a lot of times people sit back and they wait for someone to ask them to do something. They're waiting to be asked. And that's how they get lumped into areas that somebody think they should go in, because they're not asking. They're not saying, hey, I'm raising my hand. I have the strength. I can do this to help you. So in the effort of trying to engage people, they get put in places that may not be their strength. Sometimes it works out for them and then it becomes a passion for them. But other times they flounder because it's not something that they really want, but they don't want to say no.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. There are so many things. I see iPhone. I don't see any identification. So I'm not sure who that is. But iPhone, if you have a question or comments, feel free to chime in. No?
iPhone?
Can I comment on something? Oh, go ahead. I just want, if I may, I just want to share something. Many years ago, Ebony, Ebony came to where I used to work, and she came with her resume. I got called in the office because my director said, I had a young lady to walk up to me on lunch when I was on my way in from lunch, and she handed me her resume. And so Ebony was always a pusher. She was a pusher and knew what she wanted when she wanted it. Yes. And she called it and she said, well, these are the hours that I want. I'm in school and these are the hours. So she always had an idea of the direction or some of what at that time of a direction or what she wanted or what direction she wanted to move in. But I guess God got a hold of it.
Yeah. God said, hold on, come back.
That's right. But she's always had that, I guess it to me was like a leadership quality, someone who knew what she wanted, when she wanted it, and how she wanted it. So again, my hat's off to you and God for all of that.
Oh,
Ebony,
yes, ma'am.
Leadership, does it change? Does context play a role in your leadership abilities, your strategies? Have you found that to be different? Not moving away from your values or the foundations, but do you find that there are different leadership nuances that may change corporate versus ministry?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's changing all the time. And it's changing. Let's just use these, for example, what's happened in, with the pandemic. Let's talk about, what's happened with the whole Black Lives Matter. We are having and I'll take this from a corporate perspective for the moment. We are having to have conversations from a leadership perspective that in the corporate environment, we've never tackled before, ever. Like it's And it's, you know, I had to literally pull in my managers to say, okay, guys, this is where we are. You know, there's certain topics and there's certain things that we in the corporate environment like to not talk about and like to not discuss, because we don't want to cause, you know, issues, and we don't want to offend and anything like that. But literally, because of what, you know, happened, you know, with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, literally, we had to then have those conversations. And it was, you know, I was on calls with our CEO, who literally said, you know, I've had to take a step back, and I've had to look at even how I address different things and how I address people, because there are certain things I just didn't know because of what the color of my skin was. And so from a leadership perspective, absolutely, it changes. And you have to be fluid. You have to, you know, depending on what's happening and depending on what's going on, and within the context of leadership, yes, it has to change. Because again, if it doesn't, then one, I don't think you're doing your team I don't think you're doing well by your team, and I don't think you're doing well by yourself as a leader. As a leader, you should always be evolving, and depending on what's happening, you have to take a step back and look at yourself to say, okay, do I need to now shift and pivot strategy because this is no longer working anymore, or because of what's happening within the world?
Culture, yeah. Now, you mentioned within your church. I'm interested to know, how is that communicated? Because if there isn't a positive sum game for everyone, then I can imagine some people are reluctant to move out of their positions. Can you speak to that?
Yes. Communication is key, right? Communication is very key in that, because one of the things that our apostle does very well he makes it very clear. He lays out, listen, the day that you take on this position, you need to understand you're not going to have this position forever. This is what we do here. This is revolving. It's every 2 years. And that's just that. So we come in, or the leaders come in knowing that, and here's the thing, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be a leader. It just means that you may not be a leader in that particular area any longer. Or it could be you may no longer be leadership in the leadership construct. And it's nothing bad. It's nothing that you might have done. It could be that he's looking and he's evaluating and he's observing based upon the 2 years that you've been under him, or you've been within that leadership construct. He's observing and evaluating to see, okay, what's this person's next move? Do I need to take them, and I'll just say this, for example, do I need to take them out of the leadership position because I need them, because I'm going to be putting them in training for something else? Or am I going to make them, am I going to be putting them in minister and training, minister trainings? Or am I going to put them in, different, is there pastoral training, something like that? So it's not that you may be a leader in 2 years, or you may not, but you have to be okay with that, right? And I think that he does a very, very great job up front explaining it, so everyone understands. They know what's coming, right? They don't even, there's no kicking, there's no screaming. He automatically lays it out up front. Here are the ground rules. This is kind of what we do. But he doesn't just say this is what we do. He explains the whys behind it, so it makes sense. He helps people understand. And if they have questions, he always opens up an opportunity for them to ask questions, and he'll say, come talk to me about it. So I think that's how we've been able to be successful in the rotation of it, because people automatically know up front.
I was sitting in church and about this this question is dropped in my spirit. Is loyalty is enough? Is fidelity enough? So I'm sitting in church. I understand my relationship with God, but is that enough? What is it that I need? How do we bridge that gap? And I've really been not struggling with it, but asking God, why did you drop that in my spirit? Is loyalty enough? So to think about that context, revolving leadership without the developmental plan that your pastor has in place, I can imagine that's where confusion will start coming in. But it sounds like he's communicating that right up front. And
Yep.
obviously he's looking for certain skills in individuals to develop them going further because he's looking to elevate them, right?
Exactly. Exactly. He is an organizational leader to his core. He loves people. He
Yeah.
loves, he tells us all the time, like, I miss you guys so much. But he's an organizational leader to his core. He loves developing people. Like, that's what he's like, listen, I need to develop you because I got to send you out.
Yeah.
So that's just, yep.
Oh, positive sum
That's
game.
why, yeah. Also, I love that
I do too.
because not only does it prepare them for something else possibly.
Yes. Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
I think we did.
Oh, no.
I know she had a good comment coming up too. I felt it.
Oh, please come back.
What did you lose?
We lost.
Oh,
Okay, you're back. No, she's not back. Okay, I'm just gonna send her a little note. You're
That's
frozen.
funny. She said, who did you lose?
Yes, I'm here. You lost me?
okay. Yeah, she's back now. Yes, we did. We heard the very first part of that, and then your phone when it cut out.
Oh, I am so sorry. So what I was saying, what I love about that is not only does it set people up for possible, rotation, development, and keeping things fresh and new, it also eliminates the opportunity for people to take too much ownership
Yep.
over their ministry, right? Where it becomes my ministry because I've been leading it for so long that you cannot change,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And that becomes more detrimental. So having that structure in place from the beginning that you serve 2 years and then you move on, it does not allow people that this is mine to have
Exactly.
ownership, right? You own it while you're leading it.
Yep.
But you are not the owner of this ministry. And I have found myself in the past, making sure I share, you do not own this ministry. You're not the owner of the greeters ministry.
Right.
These are not your people that you manage like they're your boss,
Yep.
like you're the boss, right? And the longer people stay in positions like that mentality creeps in that this is my ministry and you have to do it my way, and it becomes very stagnant and no one wants to challenge it, and then people start to leave. So I really love that idea or that strategy.
I do too. And the other thing too is the succession planning, because in ministry, that's a tough conversation to have. But right at the beginning, you start preparing people, that next individual, that I don't care how young they are, you start preparing them and pouring into them, the possibilities so they can tap into the vision and walk alongside you.
Exactly. Exactly. And, that's one of the things that I've been thinking about is because my best friend, she was sharing with me some of the one of the things that they do at her ministry is they're within their children's organization and their youth organization, the same setup that they have in the adult organization, they have a version of that in the with the children and with the youth, because what they're trying to do, number one, like you said, they're already setting them up, number one, to understand the vision of the house and to understand the mission of the house and where you're going. And so what they're also doing is they're also allowing the kids to be able to have a part and to play a role, so they feel like they are invested in the ministry as well. And so they're just not sitting there, you know, in children's time, or they're just not sitting there beside their parents. They have their own mini services, and they have some of the same things that are happening and some of the same roles that are happening. You know, they have that, you know, from in the children as well as with the adults. And so I was like, I love that concept, because you start them out young.
Mm-hmm. You do.
You teach them young. And what it does is it also helps them to start figuring out, hey, I think I like this. I don't know if I like that. Because, you know, kids are just going to be honest. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it helps them to be able to start. It helps the cultivation of the mind and being able to, you know, helping them, prepare them for leadership at the same time, like prepare them for leadership young.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
So-
love Oh, I love that. Any other comments? Okay, Ebony,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like for you to share some words of encouragement to the audience tonight, and the podcast group and the YouTube group that will be joining and watching the video. So if you could take a few moments. I know you have an incredible testimony. I am saying nothing, but you have an incredible testimony. I would love for you to share, because you just came through, if you'd like. Your words.
Um,
No pressure.
okay. Right. So this pandemic has done a couple things. This, you know what, and I'm not even going to continue to give it a name, right? What's going on? It's been honestly a ride for me. Talk about prosperity in the pandemic. Not from just a financial perspective or anything like that, but the spiritual gains that I have been awarded by being in this pandemic has been absolutely phenomenal. I have, you know, when we first went home, or when everything happened back in the early March timeframe, I came off, I don't know what it was. I was like, I'm coming off of Facebook. I think the only thing I was on was Instagram. The only time I was on Facebook was during like Sunday morning services, because, you know, as an organization, we had to pivot, we shifted, you know, organizations went home, churches went home, but we did it virtual, right? And so literally I had come off, but during that, and I, you know, was walking, I found myself, you know, walking because I was home a lot. And so just kind of walking, trying to as healthy as I could, and working a lot, you know, working a whole lot, but I ended up getting sick. I ended up being, I went to two places. I went to patient first and I went to the hospital, both saying, you know, I had like 98% of the COVID symptoms, right? Was literally on my back for 11 days straight with a temperature, and like just couldn't do anything. And so during that time, it's just been me and God, and it's you know, God showing me a couple of things. Number one, there, you know, within, again, this goes back to me evaluating me, right? I said that before, where God was able to show me, you know what, you've been away a little bit. We need to have some conversations. And I was like, Lord, okay, if we had to have a conversation, did you have to put me on my back though for 11 days? That wasn't fair. But we had a lot of conversations, and we talked a lot, and it was just him showing me, you know, what was happening and what was going on, that I needed to fix for me. But at the same time, while that was happening, God also was making a way for a position to open up at my job at the same time. And it's just been, you know, I got sick, but he kept saying, don't worry, I got you. I got you. And it was him saying, it's time to get back to the true, authentic who you are, who I created you to be. And so my words of encouragement is just to tell people, remain who you are, remain authentic to who you are, remain the true person that God created you and called you to be. There's, a lot of people try to sit, I saw this saying yesterday, a lot of people try to sit at the head of the table. But the saying that I saw is no matter where you sit at the table, that table will shift. If it's in God's timing, if it's in the right standing, if you are in, if you are walking in alignment with God, He, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, continue to follow God, continue to hear from God. He will literally, like, just blow your mind. Literally, there are honestly all of what's happened in my life. I'll tell people, I never asked for this. I didn't ask for leadership. Quite honestly, I didn't want it. But it was just what was on my life, and I didn't even recognize it. I didn't even realize it. It was just something that was on my life, and it was just, where He placed me and what He's called me to do. And so you have to understand, you have to get to the point where you know who you are and you know whose you are. And once you do that, then allow God to do it. Oftentimes we try to get in the way. Oftentimes we try to tell God what we're going to do and what's going to happen. I was supposed to be a judge right now, but God said, okay, no, you got other things. I have other plans for you. I have other things for you to do. And so just allow God to use you, allow God to lead you. I was the queen of rebellion. Like I literally was like, no, I'm not doing this. When I first realized I was supposed to go into ministry and in any capacity. And look at where I am now, right? And so it's easier just to say yes. But just continue to strive for, because continue to keep yourself in alignment, continue to strive for the best, continue to strive for excellence in all that you do. Do it in excellence as unto the Lord. And just know that God got you. There's nothing that you have done. There's nothing that you have said. There's nothing. God has you. So whatever it is, dream big. Go back to your dreams that you've had before. Nothing is too big. Go back to the hard things. We ask God for easy stuff. We ask God for small stuff. Go back to the hard thing where you can say it's nobody but God and watch God do it for you. And that's it.
Amen. Wonderful conversation. It absolutely has. I've enjoyed it. And of course, I am proud of you.
Oh, thanks.
I'm very proud of you, and I want to thank everybody who joined tonight for #Friday Night Chats. This is definitely a calling from God and my assignment, and the people that He has charged me to invite to the platform has been, just tremendous in the past. And now going forward, it gets even bigger because God has something for all of us to do. We all have an assignment. And so thank you for being a part of this time that He has carved out for us. Amen.
Amen.
All right. All hearts and minds are clear. Feeling good? All right. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this moment in time. Thank you for this evening, God. Thank you for all of the things that we have learned about leadership and organizational leadership, succession planning, God, strategy, all of those things, God, relationship leadership. Oh my goodness. Thank you, God, for that. Thank you for teaching us about context, God. Thank you for giving us our orders to go further and go deeper in your name, God. Thank you for that element of change management and what we can do. How do we own our strategy and how do we play that part as part of the design plan you have for us? That is goodness. That is goodness, God. That's goodness. It is you who gives us a future and a hope. So we just want to thank you right now for this. And thank you for Ebony Norris as she brought her knowledge to the table. And we are careful to give you the praise and the glory. Amen and amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Okay. All right. Let's see. If I
Thank
can-
you, Ebony.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Great
Oh.
job.
Let's see if I can.